My name is Dr. Ryan Redfern. I'm a dentist located in Englewood, Colorado. From my standpoint, Fit to Smile, the idea of Fit to Smile really started with my wife and my oldest son, Merrill. We were challenged by some friends back home in Missouri, where I'm from, to run a half marathon. And the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital half marathon in Memphis, Tennessee. And this was in June of 2010 that we received this. A friend of ours challenged us to join them. There was a young man named Brody who'd been diagnosed with a rare brain tumor and who was being seen at St. Jude's Hospital. And from my standpoint, when the challenge came to run this half marathon 6 months later, I was not in any mindset at this point. It was probably the unhealthiest I ever was, mentally and also physically. And I just could not see myself running a mile, let alone 13.1 miles. And so my wife started to run, and as I started to see her run for about a month and a half, couple months, I saw some of the transformations that she was starting to go through, and it inspired me. And so, like the same thing with a lot of people, when they start to run, they really lean on others for inspiration and for motivation. And so when that happened, that's when I started to run. And it was not pretty. When I first started running, gosh, it was, I remember being on the treadmill for the first time thinking I could run, a 10-minute mile pretty easily at that point. At least I thought I could. And when I got on the treadmill, I ran about maybe a quarter mile before I was off that treadmill, feeling pretty sick and feeling pretty, honestly, sitting there on the floor thinking, I just don't want to throw up, and boy, this is really bad. And so Fit to Smile really didn't come about at that point, but Fit to Smile really came about later. When I started to run, it was just to run a mile, and then it was 2, and then it was 3. But the point is that I started feeling more confident in my ability and started feeling more confident in my the process. And over that 6 months between June of 2010 and December of 2010, when the race was held, I lost about 28 pounds, I believe it was at that time, and successfully completed that half marathon. And after I completed that first half marathon, I was hooked. And the idea for Fit to Smile, I realized that I became more mentally aware of the changes as much as the physical changes. And so for me, the whole thing was more centered about how do I incorporate this new love of running into my whole life, not just outside of work. I enjoy doing what I do, but I went into healthcare because of people, and I wanted to change people's lives. And while helping people with their smiles is important, and I love doing it, I'm more concerned about the person behind the teeth and the motivation there. And I started to realize that the changes that I went through physically were important, but the changes that I went through emotionally and mentally were just as important, if not more important, because the motivation that I felt carried me through and allowed me to do things differently than I had done before. In a way, the idea of Fit to Smile was to encourage people to be overall healthy. That includes their teeth, but to be overall healthy so that they could be givers to their communities more. The idea for the Fit to Smile Rewards program came in the spring of 2011 after running my second half marathon in Moab. My wife and I ran the St. Jude Children's Research Hospital the first weekend in December, and that's something that we do now every year. And then we went to Moab and ran in the spring of that year our second half marathon. It was shortly after that, on a trip to Disneyland, that where I had time to think away from my practice, that the idea of Fit to Smile Rewards came. Fit to Smile Rewards is simply this: we will match dollar for dollar money that patients spend on fitness activities. And how it works is an example. If a patient runs a half marathon and they spend $50 or $60 on that race, Once they complete the race, they bring in proof that they participated in the race, like a finish time, and proof that they paid for the race, and we will give them a gift card for matching that $50 to $60. They can then use that gift card towards any out-of-pocket dental expenses in our practice. Anything that insurance doesn't cover, any co-pays, anything like that that they want to use it towards, and that's how that works. We also do gym memberships. Gym memberships we realized initially the idea of Fit to Smile Rewards was based solely around running because that's what I did, but then realizing that there's a lot of different ways to achieve fitness, different age groups and such, and so really what it comes down to is we tried to broaden the scope to try to include as many people as we can. The basic principles are if you spend money on something fitness related, a registration fee, a gym membership, we will match that dollar for dollar. Gym memberships are a little bit different because there's a wide variety of range of gym memberships and costs, but what we do is you can, it's $25 a month that we're willing to reimburse is how it works, but you have to go 12 times in a month. That's what we're looking for, okay? And so, you know, it's anything from Zumba classes and dance classes for little girls to for children, team sports or even adult sports, softball leagues, you know, hockey leagues, whatever someone does to achieve fitness, we're willing to help them and give them basically back $250 a year. And so Fit to Smile Rewards is you can earn up to $250 a year, and you can use that towards any out-of-pocket dental expenses in my practice at any time. We have a patient fitness challenge every year, and last year was our first year. Last year's was running related. If you ran in 4 5Ks or greater through the year, it entered you into a drawing for basically a cruise. And at our patient appreciation breakfast, we gave away a $3,000 cruise gift certificate to a young gal who actually is pretty heavily involved in the running community. She runs a Colfax, and I think she was a Colfax Marathon ambassador this year. But it was fun giving that away. And this year's challenge is basically anybody who maxes out their $250. So it's not running related. It could be any patient who maxes out their $250 for this year, earns their full $250, will be entered into that drawing. I guess my motivation comes, I'm the second oldest of 7 kids. I've always been a helper. I've always been a giver. I've always tried to be around positive people. And so I try to create that positive environment in our practice for our patients. If they want to if someone wants to get a hold of us, fittosmile.com is the right way to get a hold of us. It's easy, and all of our information is at fittosmile.com.